Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And tonight we have a very special guest, Juliana Harkavy from
That's us.
Arrow, from Last Shift, from so many, and The Walking Dead. Let's not forget about The Walking Dead. How you doing, Juliana?
So happy to be here.
We are happy to have you with us, and we have a lot of questions. So let's just get started with probably what's been the biggest project of your career up to now, and that's Arrow. Uh, just how did you get involved to become the latest Black Canary?
Yeah, it was a trip. I had just moved back to California after living in Florida for almost a decade. And I'd grown up in LA and I had started acting when I was younger, but took a hiatus, went to Florida. And about 3 months after moving back, got the Arrow audition. And they didn't say anything about what the role was. They said it was like a rookie cop or vigilante, but they didn't give any specifics. And sometimes as an actor, you just go in the room and something happens. Like you realize the term chemistry between acting partners or in a scene. It's not just like, it's a real thing. There's like an energetic thing that can happen, but it's this little magic moment that when it does happen, it's like lightning strikes. And that happened in the audition and just something clicked. And I walked out of the room and I just said, wow, if I get a call back for this, I'm going to get the job and I have to be prepared. Um, and sure enough, I got the call back and I knew going in. I knew, I don't know, the character just felt like me, like it was my story to tell.
So you
So
only did one audition, or did you have to do some callbacks?
yeah, the callback, I had a callback with all of the network people and casting directors and yeah, everyone from the show. So, and that again was just another one of those moments where everything just felt really serendipitous and really right. And luckily they agreed, and so we got the call like 2 days later, and nobody asked me if they wanted the job. They said, "Would you like to move to Vancouver?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And then they told me everybody was on the phone. Mark Guggenheim and Wendy Miracle were on the phone, and that's when they told me, "Would you like to be the Black Canary?"
Wow.
And
Wow.
and that was when I knew my life was going to change.
Yes. Did you have any knowledge of the DC comic universe of the Black Canary, your character Dinah, any of that, or did you like research it after the audition, after you got the part? When did you really dig deep into the character you're going to be playing?
Mm. Well, I knew a lot about the DC universe because my dad growing up actually did some business with DC Comics. So I had exposure to the comics as a kid. And then I also, so random and funny, the episodes of Walking Dead that I did were with Kirk Acevedo and Audrey Marie Anderson, who were in my episodes of The Walking Dead as well.
Wow.
Um, and and who played Richard Dragon and Lila, of course,
Yeah.
in Arrow. And so because of them, I knew what Arrow was, and I had watched a few episodes because my friends were in it. So I had some idea, but then once I got the role, I did more research, and when I realized how far back this character went and how many decades she has existed, then I really had my work cut out for me.
Now, when you got the call and you got the role, did you realize you were going to be doing this for the next 5 years, 4 seasons of your life?
God, no. I had no idea it was going to. I mean, I was in Arrow longer than I was in college. I had no idea. I mean, at first I was not a series regular. I was it just like a recurring, I guess you could say. It was a recurring with an option for series regular. And you never, you get so jaded in this business. You never think anything's going to go through. When
Hmm.
you land a job, it's like a miracle. And so I just thought, yeah, we'll see when we get there. I didn't have any expectations. So when they made the announcement the next year that we were in fact going to be series regulars, like I couldn't believe it. And every year thereafter that they made that announcement, I still couldn't believe it.
Now, you have a very diverse resume. I assume, I made the assumption before I asked you that previous question, but I assume that Arrow up to now has been the highlight of your career. Is that accurate to say?
For sure, for sure. You just when you're playing a character for that long on one project for that long, it becomes part of you. It becomes a family. It becomes, part of your identity. Like that character is part of my story, in my personal life now. And every character you play is to a degree, but when it's for that many years, it's like a real relationship with any
Hmm.
person. It's deeper.
Now, have you found people messaging you, being a female superhero on this TV, super popular TV show, that you're an inspiration to them? And, have you been getting messages or people stopping you on the street and just telling you about that?
I have, and it's actually been the most rewarding part of this job, because going in, you just think, "Oh, I'm going to play a superhero," and you don't realize sort of the reach that it has and the meaning that it has, in real life. Like playing a superhero that stands for something, and especially a female superhero who's strong and who, has overcome some really hard stuff. And yeah, I mean, from people and even young kids who are sick and who have, been able to get through whatever illness they're going through because of the show or because of something that Dinah said. I mean, it kind of takes me back every time I hear it, but there are a lot of people who have found their strength in that character. And interestingly, when they tell me their story, and I kind of realized the power that that character has. Like it's not just on screen, and that helped me actually find my own strength, like in my own life, from
Yeah,
hearing
I,
stories.
I can totally imagine how just exhilarating that must feel. Now, I believe I read in a previous interview that you've done that your version of the Black Canary, because there were several that came before you, you wanted it to be more vigilante, revenge based.
Mm.
Did you do anything different so you can portray that to the audience to say, hey, this Black Canary has maybe a little bit motivations than her predecessors?
Yeah, I didn't consciously say, okay, Katie Lotz did this and Katie Cassidy did this, so I'm not going to do that. But I just focused on her story, and I made that the motivation for her behavior and her actions. And I didn't I didn't try to match any characteristics of anybody else because she did have such a unique story. And yeah, she did have a level of, I think, just kind of grit and just not caring and like just this vigilante energy, that I think the other Canaries had too, but I felt it very strongly in Dinah.
Yeah, I did too. I felt like your version, which was awesome, said, it was like, I've got nothing left to lose. I've been through so much. I've got nothing left to lose. And that's how you approached the character of Black Canary, which, like I said, was pretty kick ass. Now, you have a dancer background. How important did that come in? I mean, how physically demanding was the role of Black Canary? And did your background come in handy? Did you do a lot of your own stunts?
That's I did a I did as many as I could safely, and then when it was time to jump off buildings and things like that, I handed it over. But having a background in sports and dance definitely helped. I wish I had more of a background in martial arts, honestly. It's just the more that you know how to do, the more you can do on the show, and it's fun. But yeah, it's very physically demanding. I There was, which year was it? Oh, the first year. See, episode or season 5, the first episode. I was the least in shape that I was for the entirety of my, time on Arrow because I had just booked it. I was so tired. I got sick. Like you actually can't keep up with the schedule if you're not exercising regularly and eating right. So it kind of forces you to take care of yourself.
Wow. Now,
Yeah,
is it true that shooting of each season of Arrow took a good 10 months out of the year?
10 months. Yeah, 10 months out of the year.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, that's almost an entire year, and you're spending it and since you are a lead character on the show, after the first year, like, you said earlier, you spent a lot of time on that set in front of that camera. Did you find yourself after a while saying, you know what? Did you find yourself growing sick of the character? Or were you just really sad when the end came and you like felt like, the character of Black Canary, you were saying goodbye to a friend?
Wow. Yeah, I definitely. I had a hard time saying goodbye. And I didn't know that when I did say goodbye, it was actually the last time because I thought there was going to be a spin-off.
Yeah.
And I kind of held it in my heart, like, no, don't say goodbye. This isn't it. And we waited months before we found out that it wasn't happening. So I kind of said goodbye months later, quarantined, just like in a different world than I was when I left Arrow. But I never got sick of playing her. And when they wrote the pilot, they crafted all of these elements to Dinah that they actually, I really appreciate. They took a lot of my input and a lot of my ideas and things that I had always dreamed about her being and doing, and they put it in her character for the pilot. So I was so excited to sing and garden and like all of these random other aspects of Dinah that I thought she had.
N-
Um,
Now,
yeah.
did COVID have anything to do with the spinoff not really happening?
That's what we were told. We were told that programming just changed, networks changed. They were entertaining, putting it on a different network for a period of time and just trying to make it live. And I think they just, nobody knew what to do. There was nothing being produced.
Exactly. And if you go back, and it's just 18 months ago, not even,
Wow.
the whole world of entertainment has changed from movie theaters to home streaming. Do you think if it was just, streaming was as relevant as it is now, just 18 months ago, it might have been a different outcome for that spinoff?
It's possible. It's possible. I think that we've had to all adapt, and even the way that we audition now is different. You don't go into the room anymore, and everything is from home. I think maybe if they had been equipped beforehand for something like that, it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I,
think the whole world changed. The way that we do everything changed.
All right, now let's go from superhero ex cop to rookie cop, guarding a police station before that station shuts down. And of course, we're talking about Last Shift. Last week, as our guest, we had the director, Anthony de Blasi, here with us.
Oh,
Yep, yep, he was here with us, and he knew you were coming on. He's like, I'm going to watch, so he might be watching now, or he will be later on.
well, hi,
Now,
Anthony.
you carried that whole movie. It was a one character movie. First of all, had you ever done outside of stage? I don't know if you've done much theater, but carried an entire film by yourself, which is what you did in Last Shift.
Not to that degree, not to that degree where it was just one person. No, there was always at least moments of other characters, and that there were in Last Shift too. But it was, yeah, it was a very big and very amazing load to carry.
So, since it is really, I mean, Joshua Michael, who was a guest of ours last year, played the head of the payment cult and all that good stuff. A great movie. You did, again, a fantastic job because I would imagine as an actor, it's not easy to carry the load of a full movie all by yourself. I mean, is it easier? Is it easier not having to work that much with other people, or is it like three times as hard having to, burden the whole workload by yourself?
Wow, I've never thought of it before, like in that term, in these terms. I think um, in some ways, for me personally, it's easier because you're forced to focus. Sometimes when you're in a film and you like have to travel somewhere for, 13 weeks and you have like five scenes, like you're kind of all over the place. Like you're still kind of in your life, you're kind of in the movie life. And like with this, we had 10 days to shoot the entire movie. It was like every single day, all day long. And to, I guess I work well under pressure because when I'm forced to focus, it's just like I don't know, everything connects emotionally. I felt more connected in this film. It was easier to get to all the places, um, just for acting wise that I needed to go, and I loved it. I kind of wish more films were done that way, where it's just like, okay, put your head down and go, and you lift it up, and you're like, what did we just create?
Did you find Anthony sharing his vision for each scene and for the whole movie? Did you guys understand each other, what he wanted, and him appreciating what you were doing? Did you guys click well together on the set?
So well, again, it's just one of those chemistry things. Like either you have it or you don't. And when you do have it, you just make magic, and it happens on its own. And Anthony and I just spoke the same language. He's one of my favorite directors I've ever worked with. He's a brilliant director, and specifically for horror, he
Yeah.
just he just gets it. And every script of his I've read since, we've tried to work together on some projects, and like things just haven't, logistics haven't panned out. But I'm so eager to get back on his set. He's
Exactly.
amazing.
He is a great guy. He's a great. I mean, I from what you heard and what I hear from other people say, and I've seen his work. He's a great director. So, what makes him such a good director, and I think he even mentioned this last week, he doesn't hand the whole story over to the viewer on a silver platter.
Mm.
Making sure you understand every point. He wants to leave it up to, at least some of it, up to viewer interpretation. With that in mind, the homeless person in the movie, we never really get an answer as to what his role is, who he is he real, is he fake? What is your opinion? I mean, did Anthony explain it to you, or did he leave it up to your imagination to figure out who this character was in the movie?
I'm trying to remember. So that character was played by Jay LaRose. He's such a talented, talented actor. We've worked together on a few things. Um, I'm trying to recall if Anthony told me his take on it, but the cool thing about the way he directs is he leaves it open to you. He's not pushing anything on you. He comes up with ideas and he shares them and you collaborate. And so what it was supposed to be, I don't quite remember, but for in my mind, what helped me in the script and in the trajectory of the film was to think, uh, to believe that it was real, because there was this line of like, there's weird stuff happening, but okay, there's an abandoned police station. There's like this guy in here, that could happen, but then at some points, the line gets, turns gray, and I think that's where that movie is so good because you just kind of can't tell.
Exactly, and the way Anthony described it last week in the beginning of the movie, when Officer Cohen walks into the station, and the sergeant says, "Turn around." Anthony explained that to us is the sergeant wanted to make sure you didn't have a big hole in the back of your head, basically, to see that you were real and not one of the ghosts. And
I didn't even know
I
that.
didn't
That's
realize
so
it
cool.
either until he told me, because that never made any sense to me. Why would he tell you to turn around? But that's how Anthony explained it. The sergeant wanted to make sure that you were a real person and not a spirit. I was blown away by it too.
That's
I
amazing.
yeah.
I'm kind of embarrassed that I didn't know that.
Now, your character Jessica, do you feel that the character's loss of her dad in the movie made her more susceptible to the payment spirits and the cult in general?
Wow, that's a really cool question. I think so because she was so in tune with her dad, and she wanted to be, his second in command, and she looked up to him, and she really, I believe, was connected to his story and how he died, and I think that she was, on an energetic level, already deeply involved in everything that happened.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Now, you said it and Anthony said it. It took 10 days. Were you on the set, like you guys were on the set at least 12 hours a day? Were they long, grueling days, those 10 days to shoot it?
They were long days, but again, because of the way we were shooting, and actually shooting in an abandoned police station, and only being 10 days, we just you're so immersed in it. Like I think that set, more than anything I've worked on, felt like we were actually there. Like it was really happening more than anything I've worked on. It again, just like how it came off in the movie, it felt like very, very little separation between reality and that world, that supernatural world. So it didn't feel grueling. It felt just immersed. It
Scary
Just always
almost.
present and very scary. Yeah.
Which leads me to my next question. I wanted to ask this question to an actor who's been in a great paranormal film like Last Shift. When you're in those intense scenes, for example, when you're locked in that cell in the dark and you're just petrified, you're a cop. You're trying to play it cool, but yet we could see how scared Jessica is in her eyes. As an actress, what do you do to find that fear and portray it to us as the audience?
Mm. I just used my imagination. It was pretty easy to do in that film because all the lights would be off. You would be in an enclosed cell with like a person in terrifying makeup in the dark right in front of you. And I mean, I just sort of allowed myself to be right where I was and thought like, okay, so this is actually happening, but like just put yourself in this space where there's no way out. Like there's no one's calling cut at the end of this and just let it be. And it was pretty easy to do again because the situation that, we filmed in was so realistic.
Was
It was scary.
anybody on
I
the?
was scared legitimately.
I can imagine that was that must have been a pretty damn creepy building. Did any of the crew or try to prank you at all, or even Joshua who was there try to keep the mood a little bit light or anything? Uh,
That's so funny.
break from the intensity of the film.
I don't think we had time. I think I think all we did was shoot and sleep. No, I can't recall. I mean, Anthony, as it is, has such a lighthearted. Ironically, it was a really fun set because Anthony is so lighthearted. He's hilarious. He jokes around a lot, just in general. I mean, there were like we had a joke, an ongoing joke about how my bun, I think it started off as a bun and turned into a ponytail, just got bigger and bigger. Like every scene, like the frame was a little more full of my bun. And so there were things on set that like kept it light.
That's so cool. Now, like I said earlier, you have a very diverse resume between TV, film. You're not a particular locked into any genre where you say you've done more horror than this or anything else. But is there any genre that you specifically like working on more than another?
I do love horror and I want to do more of it. I think the problem is, well, not the problem, but like what makes it difficult is finding good horror films that are like really like just great quality, great story. Like, there are a lot of them out there, but they're also, it can be easy to fall into like kind of, I don't know, a cheesy horror movie
Yeah,
zone. So like really good horror movies, like The Shining level
yeah.
horror movie. I'm into that, and then also comedy. I love doing comedy, and I haven't done enough of it. I haven't done as much as I wish. Um, but yeah, comedy is also the majority of what I write.
So, tell us more about your writing. I mean, is writing something going down further into your career that you want to do more of, or is being in front of the camera where your passion truly lies?
It's both. I think as a really, really little girl, like 3, I started writing stories and dictating stories that like my parents would write down. And then very shortly thereafter, because I'm also from New York, you were mentioning you were too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I was going to plays a lot as a little kid. And so very shortly after I started writing, I started going to plays, and I would write stories for myself to act out. And so the two have always gone hand in hand. And now I've always written, but especially since COVID, I have felt really called to just write roles for myself and stories for everyone because we need them. We need to be entertained. We need to be, you know, distracted from what's
Yeah.
happening and informed. And it's just a really good time to create content.
Now, you are a graduate of NYU Tisch School of the Arts. Of I know very hard school to get into, the best school in the country when it
Mhm.
comes to film, whether you want to be an editor all the way to acting. I mean, it's just one of the best film schools and hardest schools to get into. So, congratulations on getting into NYU. Did you find that after graduating from NYU, having Tish as part of your education really helped you start your career?
So, yes, yes. I mean, just yes. The level of training that you get at that school is unbelievable. You take, I mean, not only acting, but voice and diction, movement. You take mask class where the teacher, his name was Pear, and he had all of these masks from all over the world, and you put them on during each class and just see what it makes your body do. Like you feel the energy. I mean, things like that you just nowhere else, I don't think anywhere else in the world could you get that deep a level of training. Even yoga, like it was part of the curriculum at NYU. So it definitely put me in a zone of, um, first of all, being better trained, but also taking it more seriously, realizing how much of my instrument I really did need. Um, and yeah, I'm so, so grateful for NYU.
And a lot of people who are not familiar with NYU, isn't it the coolest thing to have Greenwich Village as your campus?
It's so fun. It's so fun. I got in a lot of trouble.
Washington Square Park was my biggest. I even though I did not attend NYU, I that was our spot. Me and my friends, we would always hang out at Washington Square Park in Greenwich Village. So
Yeah.
even though I never went to NYU, I felt like I should be made like an honorable alumni or something.
Honestly, I think I spent a couple, I think I spent some more time in that park than I did in my classroom my
Yeah,
first year.
it's fun. It's completely, I don't know, it's a totally different experience. Now, you come from a family that has deep roots in the arts.
Mhm.
So how young were you when you realized that you wanted to be an actress? Is it as far back as you can remember?
It is. I knew for sure at 5, again, because my parents started taking me to plays really early. And the first play I saw was Secret Garden. And it starts off with a girl who's also about 5, just on this swing that was going back and forth over the audience and back onto the stage with this like beautiful, like unbelievably made set of a garden behind her. And I just remember like looking at her and thinking, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be, and I don't ever want to do anything else. And somehow it just never changed. So it was forever. I started taking acting class when I was 6, and then moved to LA when I was 9. And the rule was no agents. My parents were like, "You're too young. You shouldn't be in that business." But in LA, they scout you out.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the acting classes and scout you out. So an agent did that, and my mom felt too bad to say no because she knew it was my dream. So I started with
That's a very cool mom. You got to give it.
yeah, it was. It was really cool. I don't know if I could do it for my kid, honestly, at that age. And she didn't know this going. Well, she did because that's why she said no initially. But it's hard for a kid, and especially back then, I feel like more so than now, there was this obsession with like being skinny and in the industry.
I
Now
remember
it's
that.
changing. You remember it was like
I
really
remember.
sick, and it was many many years until recently.
Hmm.
So like I remember being, I think I was 11. I was getting some headshots done, and like, the photographer grabbed my thigh, and she was like, "You're going to be so successful, and you just need to get rid of this." And she like shook the fat on my thigh, and she said, "And you'll make it. You'll be great." And like that stayed with me forever. So I really learned how to toughen up. I learned how to like I need to really have a lot of self love and a lot of self confidence and a thick skin. And I learned that at a really early age from this business.
As a parent myself, I've thought of this myself. I mean, how do you teach your kid at such a young age about rejection and learning how to take rejection? It's like you want to build up your kid's confidence, and it's just acting and child actors and what they have to go through. I can understand any parent's, hesitation in wanting to protect their child from it, but I'm glad everything worked out very well for you. Now,
Yeah.
around the same time, let me ask you this. Did you shoot your 2 episodes of The Walking Dead before or after last shift?
That was the, oh my God, I can't even remember. I think
Because they came out really close together.
it was before, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it was before. And it was close together. I think that's why I'm having a hard time remembering.
So you you book The Walking Dead.
Mm.
It's the mid-season, season 4. The show is starting to cement itself into this mega franchise that it's about to become. Give us your first impressions in Georgia when you walk onto the Walking Dead set.
I was so scared. I'd never done anything so big. And much like the last shift set on a much bigger scale, everything looked real. Like they've
Mm.
transformed all of Peachtree City to look like The Walking Dead, and it's it's overwhelming in an amazing way. I remember being just overcome. Like it was so much fun. It felt like being on. It felt, I think it was the biggest set I've been on to this day, and I was just so excited. It felt like a dream coming true, and to be part of the franchise like that, just it was one of those like pinch me moments.
Now, I mean, obviously you were aware of The Walking Dead. It doesn't really matter if you were following the show or not. But once you got the part and you realized that you're going to be a part of two of some of the most famous episodes. It's when one of them is where we lost Herschel, Scott Wilson. He got killed off. Do you remember who your first scene was with? Was it with Tara, played by Alana Masterson? Was it with David Morrissey, who was the governor? Who was your first scene with on The Walking Dead?
It was with Alana and with Audrey Marie Anderson. And it was the scene where I Alana was, or no, Audrey was patching up my hand. I'd
Mm-hmm.
cut my hand, and oh my God, I remember it was. I was so nervous anyway, and then they put the most realistic looking cut on my hand. And I'm actually really squeamish with blood, which, like I've been challenged doing horror movies and stuff with this. And I remember getting really lightheaded and thinking, like, oh my God, if I pass out at my first day at work because of a fake cut, like I'm never gonna live this down. But I just drank a lot of water. I kept it together.
So that mid-season finale, when the governor finally brings down the prison, let me ask you this question first. Uh, in your opinion, what makes the governor's character, brilliantly played by David Morrissey, so why does he get so many people to follow him? You think it's just the charm of a psychopath who knows how to use his charm to manipulate people?
Definitely, definitely, and I think because his anger and his darkness is rooted in pain that he suffered himself, and he had been through trauma himself. That there's an element. I think the best heroes, or the best villains, have an element of you have an element of sympathy for them. Like there's a vulnerability there. There's something soft about them that endears you to them. And even in his psychotic like craziness, there is a softness and a hurt and a vulnerability that he just portrays, like you said, very brilliantly, and it endears people to him.
So again, that finale. I know that they get like 10, 12 days to shoot mid-season and finales and premieres and so on. Walk us through how that set was during the filming of that finale. It was a crazy episode to watch on TV. How was it behind the scenes? Was it chaotic? Was there just craziness all around? It was going to be Scott Wilson's last episode. Walk us through those couple of days of shooting that finale.
Well, everybody on the set of Walking Dead is the ultimate professional. I mean, they just know what they're doing. There's no sense of panic or chaos, and that's on many sets, even on big projects. You often get vibes of like panic for a big thing, like a finale. And everybody was very calm. Everything is very well planned out. I think it has to be to run a production of that size and caliber. And it was we were literally going to war, and it was like done with the precision of army generals, like putting people like in their ranks in their right spots. And it was, I mean, very everything was very clean and simple, but done on the hugest, most epic scale. I mean, we were walking through fields with tanks and guns actually firing. I mean, it
Crazy.
felt, yeah, it was, that part was crazy. And then it was also quite emotional for the cast that had been with Scott for such a long time to say goodbye. Hardest, it's the hardest thing to get through an episode and like not cry when you're not supposed to cry, knowing that you're about to say goodbye to someone you love so much. And my heart was breaking for them because they were all having a hard time just getting through the week.
Yes, yes. Now, when you got that part as Alicia on The Walking Dead, was the audition just pretty, not, I don't want to say easy, but did you have to do a lot of callbacks, or how did the audition process shape out for The Walking Dead?
That was a cool one because I had just gone to New Mexico to visit my family, and I got the call for the audition. They said you can do it as a self tape. They know that you're out of town. So I just sat in my mom's dining room and read it with her on my really bad phone. I don't remember if it was a BlackBerry or what. It was an old blurry phone, and I just did the audition like that. And the next day they said, okay, like leave your parents' house. You have to come to Georgia, and no call back, no nothing. It was just
Wow.
yeah,
You must have really nailed it on that tape.
yeah. I
Now, now, when you get the script and you find out, your character is going to be an LGBT character with involved with Alana Masterson, The Walking Dead has done a great job with the LGBT community. So kudos to them. How did you
yeah.
feel being a part of that? In that about taking part in that in The Walking Dead, and every character in the LGBT community who's a fan of The Walking Dead really applauds, and even you know people that are not in the LGBT community, I applaud them for being so willing to bring that to the screen. And I would say over the last 11 years, The Walking Dead has sort of revolutionized television in regards to its diversity. How did you feel reading the script as you being an LGBT character on The Walking Dead?
I was so happy to uh, to play an LGBTQ character because I hadn't before, and I just think that as far as the stories that we tell, representation is everything. People have to see themselves represented, and I was also because again, it was one of those things that like back in the day you didn't see like even like super multi-ethnic casts in the way that you do now. It was a different time even back then, and it wasn't so long ago. So I felt almost a sense of relief, like thank God, like there's progress here, like we're moving forward, we're telling everybody's story. I was really thrilled to play that character and that they made that choice for her.
Now, The Walking Dead is a lot of shows, but they're ultra secretive. When you audition, you get sides. You don't really know what you're auditioning for. What was your initial thoughts of the character Alicia that you were going to play? Did you like this character? Let me put it to you this way. Alicia is classified as an antagonist.
Mm.
I'm not really sure about that. Do you agree that she's an antagonist or somebody who was very manipulated?
Yeah, no, I don't find her, I don't think of her at all as an antagonist. Yeah, exactly, just the opposite. Somebody who was manipulated and who got in with the wrong crowd with good intention. I think that if she knew what what the governor was doing and what he was capable of, she would not have stayed with him. And she didn't get a chance to find out. Unfortunately, her story got cut short. But no, I don't think that she would have ever done anything to hurt. She thought that she was attacking bad people.
Because
She didn't.
that's what she was told. I remember that scene once the fighting had begun, and Alana is just basically crouched down, on her butt, covering her ears, and you come to her, and you basically tell her to keep her head down, or fight. You Even though there was a war breaking out around you, you really had feelings for Tara. Alicia had, real emotional feelings and possibly love. You guys were not together for that long, but you could say you loved and you definitely cared about each other. What do you think about that interaction between Alicia and Tara as the fighting was breaking out around you guys?
That was my favorite scene to shoot, just that little piece with Alana because it really showed depth and it really showed, not just Alicia's story, but all of these characters like in the midst of all of this war and death and chaos, like they're people and they love and like they're not able to have normal relationships. They're not able to like fully express this love because of this devastating world that they're in. And I loved the juxtaposition of that scene in that within that scene,
Yeah.
and it was really beautiful. And I did feel in that moment her love for Tara.
Now, you had also mentioned in a prior interview, I believe, that The Walking Dead was a major milestone for you. How would you say The Walking Dead prepared you for Arrow, if it did in any way? What did you learn from The Walking Dead that you took forward with you in your career, if the last shift came afterwards, to that, all the way to Arrow?
Mhm. I I think I learned how to be on a big set of a franchise that's very successful, and how as I wasn't a lead on The Walking Dead, but I got to watch how the leads treated like co-stars and guest stars and background actors, and I learned that you have to compose yourself in like a certain way. Well, you don't have to. A lot of actors don't, but um, that was the nicest set I had ever been on. I mean, they were so kind, so welcoming, like just, walk in the day you're getting your makeup done and like shake your hand and welcome. We're so happy to have you with like and that makes such a difference in your experience on set. And the cast of Walking Dead treated everyone that way. So when I went on to Arrow as one of the leads, I carried that with me, and I remembered how it made me feel, to have my hand shaken by, all of the actors that were staples on the show, and
You paid it forward.
I paid it forward, yeah, and they were already doing that honestly on the Arrow set, but I knew how to do it because of Walking Dead.
That's such a cool story. Now, moving forward again in your career, having been a lead in a very successful TV show, would you do that again? Would you want to be committed to a long-term character, or do you want to have the freedom to explore different characters as often as you would like? Basically, what I'm asking is, if something similar to Arrow were to happen again, yeah, it's job security. It's great, you know? Uh, I mean, who would not like that? But do you like the option of being free to explore different characters and to see what more you're capable of?
It's a really good question. I think at this point, I can say that as an actor, you know that no matter what the job is, no matter how long it goes on for, there's always an end, and you're always going to play another character. I guess if you're lucky,
Yeah.
um, but there's always going to be an end. And looking back now, like I just wish I could have one more day with Dinah, even after 4+ years with her, and I miss her. And it's exciting to play other characters now, to audition for other characters, but um, I'm just happy. Like, however long something is supposed to live for, I believe that that's exactly as it's meant to be. And I would be happy to play a role for, another 4 years or 5 years. I would be happy to play a role for 2 to 3 days. You just have to you have to fall in love with all of it.
Mm-hmm. So, what's in store for you? Is there any projects that you're working on currently that you can say at least that you are working on something? Are you auditioning? What's in store for you for right now?
Yeah, so I've been recently auditioning more, and going to shoot a movie in a few days or in a week or so, going to New York to shoot a Christmas movie actually, so totally different vibe. But that's the fun of it, it's like I don't know how much I can say about it, so I'm gonna just err on the side of
That's
caution.
fine. That's fine. Yep.
They're kind of like Christmas movies, so it's awesome. It's great to switch things up from crime fighting vigilante to Coco and Carols.
Now you said you're a horror fan. Is there any you know, were would you say you've been a horror fan all your life, or when do you think you became a horror fan?
Very young, very young. I was always into like the macabre and dark things, and even when I was really young, I loved the Addams Family, and I kind of started there, and then also at a pretty young age, I saw The Exorcist, The Shining, Rosemary's Baby, like all the classics, and I just loved how they made me feel. I love how the suspense, and I love the quiet. I love that in horror movies, there's so many moments of just quiet. In any film, I like that. So um, yeah, there's something about the genre that really draws me in.
As a horror fan, when you saw Last Shift, all done, ready to be viewed by the audience, what were your feelings on the movie? Not as being an actor in it, but as the movie itself. I mean, it's a great movie. I just want to hear what your thoughts on the movie were.
Honestly, I it ended and I thought, wow, that was really good. And I was just really happy and really relieved because a lot of times you shoot something and you're like, this is going to be great. And then you watch it back and you're like, that was like the biggest piece of crap. So I was really pleased. Again, it's just Anthony is he couldn't do wrong with anything that he creates.
I asked Anthony, was there any particular challenging scene? And he said that chair scene. He said he never got it right. I mean, according to him, it never. If I remember his words correctly, he never finished it the way he
Wow.
wanted that chair scene to go. It came out great as far as us the viewers go. Now,
Yeah.
do you think if you were to put yourself in Officer Cohen's situation, so if Juliana was actually in Officer Cohen's situation, do you think she would have made it through the night? You can't say that Jessica had a happy ending.
No.
Uh, I think she got exactly what the payments had planned for her, is
Yeah.
what ultimately happened to her. But do you think you would have lasted as long as she did?
I definitely would have made it through the night because the second something weird happened, I would have left.
I'm with you on that one. I,
She's much braver.
I mean, it's a movie where you really don't know who's real and who's fake. You're having a conversation with who you think is another cop until he turns around and you see he's got a big hole in the back of his head. And
Yeah.
it's a world where you don't know what's real and what's fake. Uh, I made the assumption, but did you feel that the payment's ultimate goal was to kill Jessica or just to make her go crazy and hallucinate and start shooting those innocent people like she did at the end of the movie? What do you think
Right.
their goal was?
I I think their ultimate goal was to get her to, ultimately kill her and have her join them. I think, he's a leader of a cult. And so, yeah, he thrives on the chaos. He thrives on like preying on innocent people and making her hallucinate. I think it's fun for them. But I also think that their whole point is that they want to keep growing and recruiting. And for that, I think there could be a really, really cool sequel.
I told that to Anthony too, and I even mentioned a prequel where we actually find out what this cult was like before they committed suicide at that police station. That
That's
would,
awesome.
that would be a good story as well. Anyway,
That's awesome.
Juliana, we are almost out of time. I want to thank you so much for doing this and sharing all your great stories. Looking back on Arrow, you got an opportunity that actors would kill to have and being a part of that franchise for 4 seasons. You did like 67 episodes. That's crazy as one character. What, walking away from Arrow, what is the moment that really you cherish the most on that set?
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure there must be a lot of stuff that happened that's going to stay with you forever. But is there anything that really just is seared into your memory that holds a special place in your heart?
I think the first and the last days, the first day when I walked in, and again, just absolutely terrified, had no idea what I was doing. And Stephen Amell walked in, and we were in, I don't know if it was like it was something, there was something to do with pigs. It stunk. It was gross. And then he just walked in and we laughed about it. And he gave me the biggest hug and welcomed me so warmly. And I, again, just sort of felt my life changing in that moment. And then again, like, jump, 4 years later, when we were all together in the bunker for the last time and literally turning the lights off in the scene and saying goodbye, like the first moment and everything in between up until then just kind of flashed in front of me. And it was a very profound um, and kind of surreal feeling. And we were crying so much. I felt so much love, and um, it was really, really special.
It sounds special. Like I said, there are actors out there who would love to have done what you did, and that's something you just, it's so rare, and you did a great job. Congratulations. You're a part of the DC universe. Uh, Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute honor to talk to you. Thank you for sharing your stories. Like I
Thank
said, you have one of the most diverse resumes I've seen in a while. You've done a little bit of everything. Uh,
you.
do you have any? I know I keep saying this is the last question. I promise this is the last question.
Okay,
But
I can keep.
but do, where does theater sit in your heart? Do you want to do theater? Are you interested in theater? Uh, is that something you're willing to do? Try moving forward?
Absolutely. When I was younger, I did a lot of theater, and that was where my love for acting started. And I would be so happy to do more theater. Even small, like community theater. I love tiny little productions in small, on small stages. I think it's so personal and powerful. And so in the future, I really do hope that there is more theater. I think and it's so unfortunate, but one of the very few downsides of acting, solely acting as a profession, as opposed to like acting and something else, which I did for many years and a lot of actors do,
Mhm.
is that to make money, theater isn't always, unless you're doing Broadway, theater isn't always the
Enough.
easiest to
Yeah.
make money.
Yeah.
So I think it's so sad to say that, but I think that is a big part of the reason that as an adult, I just haven't been doing as much theater.
Okay, that's totally fair. Uh,
Yeah, but I think now with COVID and it's they're going to be like we were saying about streaming and we're finding new ways to create, and I think there will be ways to stream a play. Like I think more things will become possible.
that'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be very, very interesting. Can you imagine if you have like a Broadway show like Hamilton? I mean, that was sold out for a year in advance to be able to watch it from your home. That's a cool concept.
It is a cool concept. I wow, I'm really glad we just discussed that. That's a really great
That yeah,
idea.
that never actually crossed my mind until you just said that.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, Julian. It's been an absolute treat talking to you. I want to thank all of our viewers.
Thank
Any
you.
final thoughts you want to share with your fans or our audience tonight before we go?
I just want to thank you guys so much. You are the best, most supportive, most loving fans. You have made this whole experience even more magical, and it wouldn't have happened without you. And I just want to say how much I love and appreciate you, and I'm so, so grateful for all of your support.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I want to thank all of our viewers for tuning in. Thank you again to Juliana. We'll be back on the air on Thursday. Until then, guys, on behalf of Juliana and myself, stay safe, stay walking. Good night.